With great excitement, my uncle came to me the other day, Mac, and said, "Get this. This is hilarious. There was a guy on the road, a driver, who I pulled up next to, and he had a fedora and a cigar on his window. I took a picture, check this out, and it was a driving crooner."
So good. So amazing. I love that he found the humor in it and
Yep.
has no idea what I think you should leave is.
But I'll also say this is that once I explained it to him, less excited.
Because he probably thought the guy was funny in his own right. And then
Yeah,
he's
he's like,
"Ah,
"Oh, this guy's hilarious. He's a driving," or he didn't think he's a driving crooner. I'm like, "Oh, he's a driving crooner."
If he had said the word crooner, you would have fucking lost it.
One goo, three yeah. Goo. Jaws 3. Goo. King of Queens. Goo. Meryl Streep. Entertainment.
I'm Goo.
And I'm Mick.
And we are the king of visual jokes on audio podcasts.
We're going to have to do that for the folks today because we got a real doozy of an episode here. A movie that not many people saw, and the ones that did, not many people liked.
It made a ton of money, though.
Not domestic.
And,
not domestic.
Well, we're talking to a Chinese audience right now, Max.
Yes. Yeah.
If you check the trending on HBO Max the last month or so, Aquaman's in the top 3 constantly. Is it because there's nothing else on the app?
Folks, today we are talking about Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, the sequel to 2018's Aquaman. This is 3 months late because 3 months ago, Goo and I did not get a press screening. And on top of that, all of the things were like, this is terrible. This is the worst movie of the year. So we're like, fuck it. We don't have much time right now anyways. We're not going to go see this and review it. We didn't. We're giving it to you now 3 months late.
It was Christmas time. It was released during Christmas. I had Santa duties.
December 22nd of 2023.
Much like Aquaman in this movie, I'm an Aqua dad.
And
I'm dealing with an Aqua son.
This movie
I have an Aqua dad myself.
This movie got bumped twice, and this podcast has been bumped a couple of times. So very fitting that we're doing this 3 months late. Goo, to your point, the movie did make $434 million worldwide, which is they probably broke even, I would say. Maybe made a little bit based on the budget and the advertising money.
I don't know how much press and promotion they did for this movie.
I feel like there was a lot, but I might be misremembering. But Goo, the more important point here is only about a third of that is domestic money, $124 million, which is not very impressive. In my mind, these big movies like this, these big tentpole movies, especially the comic book movies, are looking to make their money back domestically. Yeah. And then the worldwide money is where they're in the green, you know?
Yeah,
that's how I think about it.
I look at them pretty much as they all have to make at least $500 million.
Yeah, 500 million is the minimum. This obviously made under that. I don't know what the budget is. Maybe I should have looked that up. And like Goo alluded to, this is currently streaming on Max. That's how I consumed it. That's how Goo consumed it. If you haven't watched it yet, you're not missing much. You don't even have to turn this podcast.
You're missing a lot.
Just enjoy. This is a PG-13 action, adventure, and fantasy. Not much in terms of fantastical things or adventures. There is some action. I'll give it that. There's some action in this movie. It's got a runtime of 124 minutes, and I would say the final 94 minutes are fucking horrific.
Flip it and reverse it. I'm the complete opposite way.
Is your flipping? Yeah.
I was only just the tip at the first 30-minute mark. And then once we hit the first underwater battle, once we stopped going pure flashbacks to the other movie, because this one came out 6 years after that, so they had to remind the audience what was going on.
Right.
I'm like, this is such great dialogue, such visually it's hurting my eyes. I feel bad for the people that had to animate this movie because they had to reshoot it 3-4 times. They had a storyline with Batfleck. They had a storyline with Bat Keaton. Yeah. And they had to dump both of those, and they went with this.
Yeah, for some context, and we'll talk about this as the episode goes on, too. The original Aquaman actually came out after Justice League. They introduced him in Justice League. Then his solo movie comes out maybe a year later, 6 months later, whatever it was. And then obviously they're still at that point broadening the DCEU, still building it out. And so there was grandiose plans originally for this sequel. And I believe the original release date was the end of 2021 or the middle of 2022 originally.
What I don't get, though, is that what they should have said is, like, let's not pay attention to the rest of this universe. Aquaman 1 made $1 billion. Let's, as soon as we possibly can, get another Aquaman out there.
Yeah, maybe you got a point about that, because ultimately they had to not care about anything else in the universe. As if you're tuning into the first time to the podcast here, or if you haven't watched the news over the last year, this is the final movie in the DCEU.
No,
this
what I feel happened.
Dead.
What I feel happened is that they said, okay, we've hit our stride. We have Aquaman. And if people like Aquaman this much, imagine what Wonder Woman 2 is going to do. Imagine what the Flash is going to do.
There was definitely some of that. I agree with you.
No, there's absolutely that. But what they should have said is,
and then they hit on
Shazam
on too.
Fucking Aquaman. Let's just bank on Aquaman.
They commercially hit on Aquaman. Now, I don't like that movie, but it reviews well, makes $1 bazillion. And then they hit on Shazam as well. So now they think they're rolling, and then they're just shooting their shots, F. Curry heat checks from half court. And everything after that was a miss. Everything. What I think, well, you know what? Blue Beetle was good. I'll say Blue Beetle was good, but again, it wasn't attached to anything.
It was a decade later, or a decade after it should have came out. But go ahead.
Speaking of rating well, the 2018 Aquaman got 66% from the critics, 72% from the audience. And to me, that's way higher than it deserves. But it also establishes like a good water level, an equator, dare I say, Goo. Movies below that definitively bad, and movies above that definitively good, more or less, give or take a little bit there. Goo, this movie, 34% from the critics, 81% from the audience. Critics said worse, audience said better.
We cannot trust the audience anymore with any of these movies.
Yeah, and also the way that Rotten Tomatoes counts audience reviews now is differently than it was 6 years ago. But we have been harping on that. The audience scores for Roddy T's they're just disappointed because they're tremendously high most of the time. On Metacritic, Goo, the original Aquaman got a 55. That's not good, but it's a tier above like the bad movies. It's like, again, the basement level that might be lowest common denominator. This movie, Goo, a 42. A 42.
That's bad.
That's not good. That's not good. And
I'll say this. I'll jump on this quickly. I'll hop on this grenade. Look, the first one as a movie is definitely better. Like the structure of
it's more cohesive.
Absolutely is.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking for pure fun, like pure idiotic fun, this might be where it's at.
Nope, don't agree, because I think everything surrounding the Ocean Master and how over the top Orm was in the first one trumps anything in this movie.
You're right. That was hilarious. But in this one, he ate a bug.
That's several bugs, in fact.
Yeah.
That was one of the worst post-credits of all time.
Also, that's not even a funny joke.
No, not at all.
Guys, what if he's like, he doesn't get it and he eats a bug?
Well, the whole thing to me, like, and I was thinking in my head, so like an insect on land is roughly equivalent to like lobsters and crustaceans in the sea, who are his friends. So he's eating his land friend. It didn't make any sense.
Well, when you're under the ocean, you're going to eat the lobsters and crabs, right?
I don't know if you are.
What are you going to eat? No, I feel like so.
Krill? Maybe they're eating krill.
Arthur talks
like a nice baleen whale.
Arthur talks to all of these sea creatures. And by the way, when he calls on the whale, I shouldn't have said that. Let's take that back. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah, save the spoilers for the 3-month.
Because when that happens later, I was like, fucking yes.
The armada of sea creatures.
That's what I came for.
I actually wanted more of that. I would have liked more of that.
I would have. He was
Aquaman's whole thing, at least according to me and in my understanding of the character, is he utilizes all these sea creatures, and we barely see it in either movie.
Okay, so while I think the underwater scenes in this movie look terrible, I don't think they look good at all.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand any of the structure of how they're, but the stuff underwater is what I wanted to see.
Under the sea.
I was going to spell it SCA. I wanted to see.
Dude, this movie is written by David Leslie Johnson McGoldrick. You got to figure that out. Get an acronym in there or something. That's just fucking too many names. You would know David as the writer of the movie Orphan, Wrath of the Titans, The Conjuring 2, the original Aquaman, and also did many Walking Dead episodes. He has a horror-ish background. Of course, he's been working with James Wan for 15 years, maybe even longer. James Wan, also a writer on here. Saw 3, Insidious, Chapter 2, The Conjuring 2, The Nun, Aquaman, that whole universe. Malignant, Megan. So it's been a real up and down ride for Wan, even in the horror stuff. Two more writing credits on here, Goo. Jason Momoa gets a writing credit for all his awesome ad libs in this movie.
I was going to say, how many of it was like, hey, we don't have anything in the script. Can you just say something?
Yeah. He does have an upcoming project, Goo. Momoa, who is the writer and creator, partial creator of a show called, a TV miniseries called Chief of War that's coming out. He's the co-writer on that with the writer, the fourth and final writer on this movie, Thomas Sibbett, who you wouldn't know from anything. Also, upcoming stuff for James Wan. He's got something called La Noche del Demonio. I don't know, some sort of demon movie. It sounds like
spooky, yeah.
And The Crooked Man. So I think he's just getting away from this and back into the horror stuff.
It seemed like he really wanted to make the Trench movie, which is all of like the crazy sea creatures, but they pulled the plug. They had,
which was maybe like the best 10-15 minutes of the first Aquaman movie is when you deal with that and he goes down and finds the staff and shit. Of course, this Aquaman character was originally created by Paul Norris and Mort Weisinger. What a name that is. Hell of a name. Goo, of course, the movie directed by Wan. We all know what he's done. He's got an upcoming movie he's directing called The Call of Cthulhu. Is that how you pronounce it? Cthulhu? It's like, isn't it one of those fake creatures? What are those called? Cthulhu? Like the New Jersey Devil, those things?
I thought it's more like a kaiju.
Oh, maybe it is. I don't know.
Okay.
You might be right about that.
Okay.
Synopsis, Goo. Black Manta seeks revenge. That's right. Black Manta's back on Aquaman for his father's death.
Time out. When they showed the flashback, I was cackling.
Yeah, that was
out
incredibly cringeworthy.
And you kill that Aquaman.
Wielding the Black Trident's power, he becomes a formidable foe.
Yeah.
To defend Atlantis, Aquaman forges an alliance with his imprisoned brother. They must protect the kingdom.
My first thought was you going to firefighter school. And what they told you is that when you're fighting fire, more fire.
More fire.
You fight fire with fire.
Yeah.
Trident with trident.
Bigger, hotter fire is how you defeat fire.
I mean, I would think that if you're trying to defeat a trident, quadrant.
Put a fourth prong on there, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I agree.
Right.
Yep. Totally.
Even though his was spookier, though.
What spookier?
It was a spookier trident.
I actually would argue there should be more tridents in the Aquaman lore. Each kingdom should have their own trident. Isn't there 7 seas? Should be 7 tridents.
And then you combine them all for a
Captain Planet
21 Drent. What, guys, someone tell us what
blackjack.
21. Yeah, a blackjack.
Dude, this movie started.
That would be a line written by Jason Momoa. I've got blackjack.
Okay, this movie stars Jason Momoa as Arthur, aka Aquaman. Patrick Wilson reprises his role as Orm, no longer the Ocean Master. I don't know if anyone is currently Ocean Master.
When I was watching this, and it just dawned on me, and I said, there's no way I'm the first person who thinks this, is why isn't Patrick Wilson Aquaman and Jason Momoa Orm? Why isn't it flipped?
Why do you ask?
Patrick Wilson looks just like the comic book.
Oh, the original one is like a blonde guy. Yeah, I think they've changed it over the years.
No, but he looks even the guy now, he still looks like the blonde guy with longer hair, I think.
I don't know what he currently looks like in the comic book. I will say, though, if you are depicting people that live in the ocean and not at the surface, they would be lighter skinned because they don't see sun. So you got a point there.
That wasn't the point I was trying to make, but thank you.
Sounds like the point you were trying to make.
Okay.
Yahya Abdul-Mateen is Black Manta. He, of course, played Black Manta in the first one. He is something. He's something.
He delivers some amazing lines in this movie.
Now, he plays, what is the blue guy's name in Watchmen?
Oh, he plays, am I blanking right now?
I know, I can't think of it either. This movie is just
crazy. Dr. Manhattan.
He plays Dr. Manhattan in the HBO series Watchmen,
Yes.
and he was very good as that. But that role doesn't ask for much acting. I
Mhm.
have a sneaking suspicion this gentleman's not a very good actor.
Or this movie didn't know what it wanted to do.
Okay, but that's 2 movies in a row, and I don't know if he did much in one.
I'd argue the first movie also didn't know how to use that character.
Fair enough. Maybe they should just not make Aquaman movies, as they've been saying since
That's
the
a
first one.
possibility.
Go Amber Heard in here as Mera, and speaking to some of the issues they had with this film, she certainly had a larger role in the original cut of this movie.
But also in this final cut here, she's in more than what I was expecting. She's
I
in
agree with
15 to 20 minutes of it.
Yep, she plays a little bit of a role. She actually has a cool little power set that we just don't get to see that often.
Also, how about her CGI bosom?
Hey, I'll tell you right now. We'll get to that in a bit. That's
Yeah.
it's a gripe I have there. Go Nicole Kidman. Her name is Atlanta in this. I had no idea what her name was through either movie.
I don't know, but Outkast keeps singing about her.
Randall Park is shoehorned into this movie at every corner
Yeah,
as
so-
Dr. Shin.
But what I appreciate about him is that he kept on telling us what was going on. And if he didn't do that, I'm not sure I would understand any of anyone's actions.
You can actually tell the biggest victim of the reshoots, or the most noticeable scene
Yeah.
was when Orm and Arthur are down in like the lair overlooking the thing, and then Dr. Shin comes around the corner, and you can tell they're not talking to each other. They shot
Yeah.
it separately. It's a really horrible scene.
Also, my favorite scene in the movie is when Black Manta says to him, "If you want to leave, you can leave." And he's like, "I want to leave." And I'm like, I think it's the actor Randall Park saying he does not want to be here.
Tamura Morrison, aka Boba Fett, is Arthur's father, Tom. And I'll tell you what, this is a little bit of a spoiler. You think he dies in this movie, and then he just doesn't. He's not dead.
Or maybe you think he doesn't die and he does.
Dolph Lundgren is back as King Nerys, and boy, is he terrible.
He's not good.
And then we have 2 voice actors here, John Rhys Davies as the Brine King. I think that was the big crab lobster type of thing that helped them fight.
Crab people.
Yep. And then Martin Short was the voice of the King Fish that they go and see like 35, 40, 55 minutes into the movie.
Wait, I had a funny nickname for him. What did I call him? I call him Jabba the Fish.
Yeah, that's pretty much what he is.
That's
not
in
as
my
fat
notes.
as Jabba, but that seems like a very similar role. That's
was
Martin Short.
You know what though? Like that, those are the type of scenes that they should have had though.
So everything up before he goes and gets Orm is okay to me. The next 20 minutes is worse, but all right, we're doing something. And then everything after they break away from King Fish and it gets back to Black Manta stuff, some of the worst cinema I've ever seen.
Yes, the Black Manta stuff is not good, but I liked the underwater adventure stuff that is in this movie. There's just not a lot of it.
And then we get to this random island that has all these fucking Jurassic Park monsters on there. Is that canon in DC that there's a big island with gigantic monsters on it? Like, what the fuck was that?
Yes.
I don't know, Goo. You have more thoughts and more positive thoughts on this movie, so you can lead the way here. But if you have not seen this movie, and we'll get the spoilers in a couple minutes here, I cannot recommend watching this movie. I would not waste 2 hours on this movie.
You said I'm positive, and all my notes at the top here are pretty negative. I don't want to be negative after you say that.
I didn't read them.
Okay, well, the musical cues are hilarious.
Bulk and Skull music.
It almost is. It's like they, and I think Screen Junkies use this joke for the first Suicide Squad movie. It's like hitting scan on your FM radio. A lot of the songs here are much like that.
Very similar vibe to that movie for sure.
And then I also wrote here, Manta Toboggan - massive dong.
It's a real nice joke you got there,
Yeah.
Goo. I will say it was the idea of finding this trident and it connecting to like the Lost Kingdom is intriguing. Everything they did around that was terrible. Like, I like the idea of it. Like, I don't know how you do it, but I'm like, oh, okay, that's how you gain power to defeat Aquaman potentially. But the CGI on the zombie kingdom, like, that was terrible.
Also, there's so many points in this movie where Manta can either kill someone or do something like that, And he just turns around and is like, no, I'm going to do that instead real quick.
Yeah, he just
Like,
does your classic.
Focus up.
Yeah, your classic
Focus.
terrible villain talking and staring type of stuff.
All right, Mac, let's do the octagon really quickly. And let's pretend, let's do the octopus real quickly because this is a water movie.
Nice skill. Real nice one.
I saved it. I went one way and I said, wait
Yeah.
a second.
Yeah.
Water. Fun factor. How fun is this movie? And I thought the final 90-ish minutes is fucking bonkers, and I really enjoyed it.
So I am just never gonna be this movie watcher in that vein. You somehow have been able to pull from the depths of Hellboy to appreciate these types of movies. If you like B movies, I don't even really think this is for you because I think it didn't even get that bad. I guess it depends on your attitude going into the movie. I guess you could find fun in here. I didn't find any.
There was a scene where we got not only 2 no's, like, no, we then got a third no that was in slow motion. I didn't think they were going to do it, but they did it.
Yeah, horrible.
Satisfactor. How satisfied are you by this movie? I went into it believing that it was going to be like, it was like irredeemable. And I thought that they had enough cheese in here to keep me pretty satisfied.
The first 30 minutes, I was like, I don't know why everyone really hated this movie. This isn't that terrible. And then the final 90 minutes, I was like, oh, yep, this might be the worst movie of the year.
Oh, there's a lot of pee in this movie. Lots of pee, right?
There's no satisfactor at all in this movie. Nothing satisfying occurs.
Whether it be a child peeing or Arthur just out of nowhere.
Is that why you like this? Because there were some dad jokes in there?
I love dads. I just dad stuff I'm all about it. No, but like there's a scene in here where Arthur gets wet and he's like, yeah, that's pee. I bet that is where Momoa gets his writing credit.
Yeah.
Anytime he brings up pee.
Yeah. That's where he got his 25%.
Like
piss.
At the beginning of the movie, the baby doesn't actually pee. He just out of nowhere goes, the baby just peed on me. They're like, shit, we have to CGI piss now.
Gotta give.
Yeah. Borometer, the first 25-ish minutes is when I was texting you a ton being like, I need something to happen. And then stuff starts to happen.
Opposite. The final 90 minutes, you could look away and you didn't miss anything.
Halloween. I was about to rewatch this movie again earlier, but I didn't have any time.
Oh, yeah. When I finished this movie, I said, this is not the worst movie of the year. It's probably in the conversation. It's probably in the bottom 4. Since then, I think it might be the worst movie of the year.
Aquator, is this movie better or worse than the original Aquaman from 2017? And like I said, as a movie, it's definitely worse. And I might still say the other one is better because I would take that submarine scene over anything in the entire run, the 5-hour run of these 2 movies. So I'll say it's below.
This baby sinks. Faux show.
Pants Tent City. Excite Bike Mania. What got you going?
Like I said earlier, I wish there were more tridents. Maybe that would have got me going. I like the trident lore. That's the only thing that even sparked any interest in me whatsoever. But no, there was no pants tent in here. And part of the reason was I was expecting maybe a little more sexy underwater outfits. Maybe Amber Heard pops a titty out. We didn't get any of that.
Momoa pops a hog.
Anything. I'll take a dong.
But by the way, credit to Jason Momoa for saying, I'm not getting back into shape for this.
Well, he's a dad now.
Yeah. I'm not saying that I'm not trying to body shame anybody.
Sure.
I'm just saying, like, he was in for the Justice League movie and the first Aquaman movie, like the best of shape.
He doesn't have time to
possibly get into.
He's raising a child.
Yeah, it's a good point. And the baby's peeing on him, so. And the mom just disappears. I don't know why.
Yeah, that's weird.
But Max Credit Union, who do you want to give credit to?
Thank the Lord James Gunn put this out of its misery. Thank you.
But I'm still curious.
Appreciate you.
I'm curious what they shot with Ben Affleck.
I bet it was small scenes because I'm trying. So to that point too, Flash was supposed to come out in 2020 or 2021, right? Mm-hmm. Originally. And this was going to be set or come out like a year later. So I wonder if stuff that happened in Flash was going to be continued on in this movie. And then obviously they changed a ton of that movie, Flash, which affected this movie on top of other stuff.
I wish George Clooney was in this movie.
That would have made it better. I agree.
That would have been something. For those of you tardy to the Mac and Goo party, we rate everything on a 40 hot dog rating basis. Mac, I had myself a blast. I really enjoyed. Once Manta said, I'm going to kill me a dead mermaid, or I'm going to kill myself a dead mermaid, something along those lines, I'm like, you know what? That is touching permission to come aboard. And then after that, it was pure lunacy. Nothing really made any sense. The dialogue back and forth, it was all one-liners. The stuff between him and Patrick Wilson, crafty lefty, just trying to get us along here. I thought was pretty fun. A lot of it, like, he doesn't know how to run out of nowhere, even though he was trying to run to the ocean earlier. Doesn't really make any sense. It would have been great, like you said, if out of nowhere he had a trident too. Just it came out of hey, I have a trident too, guys. But I enjoyed myself. I'm not going to give it a 0 like Madam Web, but I also wouldn't give.
No. It's not as bad as Madam Web.
Madam Web is also way more fun. Madam Web is maybe the most fun I've had in a long time. I'll go 20 hot dogs on this.
All right. So I think you gave your first one like 27 or 26.
24.
No, I gave it 24. You gave it like 27 or 26.
26 maybe.
But I think you've come down a little bit on it, but whatever. That's your equator. Mine's at 24. It really doesn't matter. Goo, I have this at 16 hot dogs. Honestly, at the end of the movie, I was right around 20, and it's just gotten worse the more time that's been removed.
By the way, the final scene is horrific.
Bad.
Like
really bad.
It looks so bad. It looks like he is the only person there, and every other person in the crowd behind him, it is just all CGI.
They kidnap a baby, and like the baby CGI in this, the small parts that we get is like straight out of 2002. It's like straight out of Baby Geniuses. It's horrible.
I was just thinking Baby Geniuses.
It's so bad. It's so fucking bad. The final fight's terrible. Manta's self-sacrifice is terrible. Like it's terrible.
Guys, and once again, we're not blaming the people that did the CGI. They were overworked in this. And I believe that they were told several times, hey, we're changing the movie.
Yeah, I agree with you on
but
that.
Like this was like Shark Girl and Lava Girl, Shark Boy and Lava Girl level stuff. This is Spy Kids. It's pretty close.
It's very close. Like if you have a deranged mind like Goo, maybe you'll find some enjoyment in this movie. I think most normal people are going to turn this movie off before it even gets halfway. Like I said, you could argue it's the worst movie of 2023, and I think I'm getting pretty close to saying it is. It's definitely in the bottom 3 or 4 2023. I'd probably rank it 54 or 55 of the 56 movies I've watched from that year. But those bottom couple are kind of interchangeable. I think the more interesting note here, Goo, is I think you could actually argue it's the worst DCEU movie. And that's fucking like actually saying something. The worst DCEU movie by Roddy Tease, and again, this is 34%, 81%, is BVS at 2963 and Suicide Squad 2658. To me, it's definitively Suicide Squad. Yeah. This I now think is on the Suicide Squad level. It's that fucking bad. If you want to go by Metacritic, this is a 42. Suicide Squad's a 40. Like, I legit think, like, if someone said they liked Suicide Squad more than this movie, I'd be like, yeah, I get it.
I think this has more enjoyable bad stuff in it as opposed to like Wonder Woman 2, which is just boring and doesn't do anything.
That movie is better than this movie, though. And that movie
I don't think
stinks.
it is.
No, that movie stinks, and it's better than this movie.
It's not better than this.
It is.
The other Suicide Squad, the worst Suicide Squad, is not better than this.
I'm telling you, this and Suicide Squad are the two worst, like definitively.
Also, this is more interesting than Black Adam.
I think it. No, I don't think it's more interesting. Black Adam's not good, but it's fine. Black Adam was the definition of fine.
No one tries to kill themselves a dead mermaid in Black Adam.
This movie's really bad, dude. It's really fucking bad.
Black Adam is really boring.
I agree with you.
This movie is not. This movie is fun.
No, this movie is incredibly boring.
Shall we spoil?
Yeah, I guess. Spoilers.
Like day-old fish, like people passing fish back and forth at a market. You've been to one of those?
I've actually not been to a fish market. No.
I'm not even sure if those are real.
I bet they're real.
Yeah, they're probably real.
We live in a seaside city. I bet there's several fish markets.
But I just appreciate the fact that this movie, you know, they're shouting out to us, the dads, and they're saying, "We see you." Finally.
Yeah, dads need to be seen. Have you ever, speaking of fish markets,
Yeah.
haven't you wanted to go to that Seattle one where they're always catching and throwing fish?
That's what I was talking about.
I'd like to try my hands
Wait.
at catching and throwing fish.
Is that in Seattle?
Yeah, they always talk about the famous Seattle like fish market.
Are the fish alive or dead?
I'm sure they're dead. I don't know how you keep live fishes in a pile like that.
I say I can't catch a live fish.
Fishes?
Fish.
You don't think you could catch a live fish? You were a first baseman.
It's a
Scoop
big
that?
fish.
Yeah, you're not used to using two hands. I think you'd have to use two hands.
Yeah. That's double the size of a football.
I think I would be. Well, how do you think you'd be at throwing? It's like a ref throw, the underhanded
one of those
spiral.
ones.
You know, do you think you'd be better at throwing or catching?
I'd be sent home first day. Is the fish dead? I should be fine.
He's not cut out for the fish market.
If the fish is dead, I should be fine.
Yeah, the fish is obviously dead.
And I'd have to be in like the medium line. I couldn't be in the big fish line.
Some of those fish are large. I think you'd
They're
be all right
huge.
though. Some of those guys aren't big throwing fish around down there.
If it's like an octopus, do you throw it overhand like this?
I don't think they're tossing octies because they get stuck to everything.
I do a bounce pass.
With an octie?
Yeah.
You think it's that
No, look,
bounceable?
go like that. Why doesn't Aquaman have a better house, by the way?
So there's all sorts of questions you could in the first movie. You're totally fine with whatever circumstances
Yes.
Aquaman has. In the I don't know how many years have passed in the DCEU since seems like he could probably upgrade if he wants to instead of living in a shack by the sea.
I feel like he could sell one piece of Atlantean gold and buy the entire state of Maine.
And not for nothing, since he now has a child and the heir to the throne, you think that he'd have a little more protection around the one home he has.
Or not only that, like you would say, okay, maybe I don't need a better home, but why don't I give my father, who lives the life of a lighthouse keeper, a slightly better home?
Yeah, maybe some high tech. Or moreover, too, like the president's kids have Secret Service follow them everywhere. Why aren't there secret fish dudes protecting the kid at all time?
Yeah, like we learn in this movie that he doesn't protect the kid and his father should be dead.
His father definitely should be dead. And like the whole kid thing, I get the angle that you're trying to show that there's been growth in the character and him and Mara are trying to be like normal people living this double life. But the kid is only there so that Manta can steal him. That's it. It's the only reason the kid exists in this movie.
Also, why is he so surprised that his kid can talk to fish? Because him and his wife are not only both mer people, but like super mer people.
Can she talk to fish too, or is it just
No,
him?
but she can spin water. She's a airbender.
She That's not how that works.
Maybe.
She does have cool powers, but like I don't. So if the baby can talk to fish and he can talk to fish on that wavelength, shouldn't they be able to talk to each other in the way that they do it in Dune? Right?
Or like,
shouldn't they be able to understand what each other are saying?
or like a Jedi. Like you can sense it.
Similar, yes. Like Paul Atreides can hear his womb sister, her thoughts. Why can't Arthur hear Arthur Jr.'s AJ? I'll call him. Why can't they hear each other's thoughts?
Or Arthur say to him, "Don't pee on me."
Yeah, and even if the baby doesn't quite understand that, there should have been some sort of more telepathy there. And I just, if the fish are being spoken to on this wavelength, that means Arthur can understand it.
Yes.
So when the baby says it or looks at the fish, Arthur recognizes it, but doesn't pick up on what he's saying. It bothered the shit out of me.
Also, in the first half an hour, my favorite part was all the flashbacks to the first movie. And there were a lot of them.
Movie.
There were a
best part of
lot
the
of
movie.
flashbacks in the first half hour.
The best part of this movie is the flashbacks to the first movie.
Also, Jim from The Office keeping a log. Like I said earlier, like really important to me because I was only half sure of what was going on most of the time.
Yep.
But he's like, me to log, Randall Park to log. He's doing this now. I'm like, okay, so he's doing
It's
this.
like Captain Kirk keeping
Exactly.
Starship log.
It was like Norm and Dirty Work.
I
Note
also
to self.
I also think Randall Park probably wasn't in the first cut of this movie, the way that his character is used.
Yeah.
They probably cast him and shot all of his scenes after shit changed. That's my guess.
Also, so Amber Heard, her character, Mara, I'm going to call her Mara.
Yeah,
She
that's
can
her name.
do so much underwater.
Yeah.
Like she has these amazing like tornado moves. She can,
She's
like
an
I said,
avatar.
yeah, she's an avatar. She can pick up and she can bend water, right? Yet for some reason, her and Atlanta are riding on these ridiculous mechanical sharks.
She should
When
be able to.
They have the ability to go at like super light speed under the water.
I was gonna
Why
say
are they on these sharks?
she should be able to propel herself in the way Iron Man does in the air, but in
Yes.
the water with her little sonar things. And moreover, I like who has powers and who doesn't is very unclear underwater. Like they do make it clear Orm's a sponge, like when SpongeBob gets dried out in Sandy's tank. Orm is the same fucking thing. But then when he's back out of water, he's still super strong. So how long does it take to dry out? There's a whole thing there. But like does the water just make him like a little bit stronger and faster? Like they don't explain any of it. Like he doesn't have any powers other than just being able to swim and breathe underwater.
I now want to waste my time and mash up Orm and SpongeBob when he's in Sandy's bubble.
That's exactly what it was.
It's at this point, though, where we do get Manta saying, I'm going to kill me a dead mermaid. And that was the point where I even text you, I'm like, I'm in. I'm all the way in now. Because then after that, and I don't even have what the line is. I wish I fucking wrote it down. But Aquaman then quotes Will Smith. He said, keep your hands off my wife. That's what he said.
Yes. I certainly looked at my phone 100 times watching this movie because this movie was that bad. So I literally remember nothing from when they go and like confront Manta in the base until the final fight scene. I don't remember anything of what happens in between there.
So now at roughly the 40-minute mark, we have the word Orokoken spoken at least 150
That's right.
times.
That was my one note to you. Orichalcum.
Oh,
they say the word
Sorry.
Orichalcum 6,000 times in this movie. That was the only thing I remembered after the movie, and I had already forgotten it between then and now. Orichalcum, they say 6 million times.
Also, at what point, why would they say the best place to keep Orm is in this desert? Now, that does make sense.
Mm-hmm.
But this desert that's right next to the ocean, that's within running distance of the ocean.
So he could do his Baywatch run.
A good sprint, and he's at the ocean.
Quick 40-yard dash, and he's back to full strength. Why in both movies did they venture through the desert? Like they just felt the need to shoehorn the desert in here.
Was Creedence Clearwater Revival used in this movie? I feel like it was,
might have
right?
been. Yeah, it might have been.
And they might have used like 3 of their songs too.
I forget. Yeah, this movie sucks.
I forget too. I feel like they run through the jungle.
They should have used Run to the Hills.
I would have taken that Run for Your Life.
For your life.
That's not my favorite Maiden song, though.
I love that song.
That's a good song. I'd take the Trooper over that.
Great song.
My favorite song by them, it's a cover of the play Phantom of the Opera.
I don't know if I've heard it.
It's great. It's fantastic.
Okay.
It's so good. That, it's a little more interesting than this movie, I guess, but
for sure.
So now once he's brought back to life, we then go back to Manta Toboggan. We get that scene with him and Randall Park being like, you want to leave? And he wouldn't let him leave.
Yeah.
It was all a big joke.
Yep. I don't, there's this movie is so segmented and like scene. It's not like the longest tracking shot in this movie is like 3 seconds.
No, there honestly isn't a lot of cohesion in the story when it's going back and forth between what the bad guys are doing.
Yeah.
And, running through the jungle with Aquaman and Orm. But then we go to Jabba the Fish.
Yeah, this is the Martin Short character.
I like when he put the helmet on him, though, and he made him suffocate, and then he punched him. I like that. That was a good little scene.
You felt like this character was going to be in the movie much longer than he was, and he was just in for the 3 minutes that he's there. That's it.
Even though he's just playing Jiminy Glick. Also, I love the tags on this movie because, all comic book movies do this. They'll tell you they're in New York, they're in Wakanda or something like that. And this movie puts at the bottom somewhere in the South Pacific.
Yeah.
And that is such a large part of the earth.
It is incredibly there's just ocean until you get to actually either way. Between Africa and Australia, there's a lot of ocean. And then again, between like Australia and New Zealand, a lot more ocean. And then South America, the South Pacific is expansive.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you because I know that you did very well in the geography bee.
I made it to the finals on stage there, Goo.
Would you say the South Pacific is more or less than 10% of the world?
Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I described the Indian Ocean between Africa and Australia. That's my bad.
You've
my
already,
bad on that.
We've already fucking blown the bit.
Still, between Australia and South America is a lot of fucking ocean. I just flew over some of it when I went to Hawaii last
Brag.
year. A lot of blue there. There's so many like atolls and little tiny islands that are like meaningless out there, but there are people inhabiting these islands. It's kind of insane.
More or less than 10%.
Say it again. 10% of what?
The world.
The amount of people?
No, the water. The South Pacific.
So if the ocean covers what, 70 or 75% of the planet,
yeah,
and the Pacific is the largest ocean, well, I would say the Pacific probably is half of that 75. Let's say conservatively 35% of the world's oceans are Pacific. Half of that would be 17. Yeah, it's probably right, or it's probably between 12 and 15% is the South Pacific.
So when it says somewhere in the South Pacific, it could just say literally anywhere.
Yeah. Literally anywhere.
Literally anywhere in the world right now.
And it's also like you only would give that if you were like trying to establish that as a place we'll be visiting or a place you'll need to know. You don't need to tell us they're in the South Pacific if they're just swimming through the ocean. It's completely meaningless.
And then you have Loki and the Azkaban jokes. Those were hilarious.
Yeah, really, really funny.
These two, Orm and Arthur, they're not harmed by anything. There is no threat to their well-being. So really following them, there's no point to following them. They can't be harmed.
Well, that's what I understand, though, because he gets like hurt in that first battle with Manta at that like substation. But I'm like, how big in danger is he really? I don't quite understand it. Like,
There's
what
nothing
does it take?
There's nothing a good groan can't fix. Oh, I'm fine now. I'm good.
Someone needs to explain what Orm can and can't do to me.
Now, why would Orm care if Junior got took?
Well, because now he cares about his family, and that's, I guess.
Yeah, but it's also only...
It's a big crux of the plot, and it's not believable at all.
It's his half-brother that he doesn't really care
It's his
about.
half-brother that's imprisoned him in a sand prison for 4, 5, 6 years, and now all of a sudden he's supposed to care.
You know what I also love is that at this point... Now, Mac, I know that when you went to firefighter school, they said to you, when there's a fire, you fight fire with fire. So what they do at this point is that throughout the entire movie, the bad guys are using this noise to dismantle them and to really like knock them down.
This pulse type thing.
And what the good guys do is they use a louder noise.
They turned it to a different frequency.
That's right.
Really
What they
turned
did
their
was
own weapon against
they
them.
summoned all the whales.
Yeah.
And I yelled in my empty house, fuck yes.
I think there's a couple porpoises in there. All sorts of sea life come to somewhere in the South Pacific. Actually, I think they were in Antarctica at that point. And the whales are just whaling.
I loved it.
And
that was
now,
my favorite part of the movie.
Now I wonder, as a small child, an infant that's in that lair who can speak to the animals, is he like overwhelmed now because all the whales are whaling? I don't know.
Or maybe he's like, hey, I can hear you guys. I know what you're saying. Maybe all the whales are being like, go to the exit.
I don't know how it wouldn't have been annoying for Momoa, He wasn't wearing earplugs.
I guess.
Right?
I guess.
Doesn't make much sense.
No, but that's my favorite part of the movie. Like that's more of the crap that I want to see.
Sure.
But Mara, when she kissed Randall Park, that was weird, right?
That was bizarre. Yeah.
It didn't really make any sense.
None at
No.
all.
Do you think that was in the script, or she just wanted to kiss Randall Park?
She's like, I got to spice things up for the folks.
And then I was expecting so much for an I Am Aquaman ending.
Yeah.
And then we got it.
We sure did.
Yeah.
We sure did. And
I Am Aquaman. Also, I loved Manta accepting death.
that was so dumb. So
He
stupid.
didn't want Aquaman's help. He's like, no, I'm
He's got
going
a
to
lot.
die.
He's got a lot of more years left on this planet, and he said, "No, thank you. I'm just going
Nope.
to fall to the center of the earth."
Because once again,
What a terrible way to go.
the flashback of his father being like, you don't save me.
Yeah,
But look at me. What I want you to do is you kill that damn Aquaman.
I fail. And if he stays alive, he still has a chance to kill him. It's the dumbest thing ever.
I feel like on my deathbed, what I want to say to my son is like the vitals will start going off and like
Yeah.
the beeping, and he'll be like, "I'm gonna go get a doctor." I'm like, hold up. Don't save me, but you kill that fucking Aquaman, and then I just die. It's not a
Dude,
bad way to go out.
the funniest part of this movie to me was the closing credits end of the movie when they're playing Born to Be Wild. And I was like,
Wait, it was
This-
a Born to Be Wild remix. It wasn't even Born to Be Wild.
this couldn't have been a worse song for a worse movie, and that made it so perfect. It killed me. That was
I'm honestly
hysterical.
surprised I didn't use Bad to the Bone too. I love this movie.
Oh, this
I
movie
loved it.
sucks.
I loved it.
It's either the worst or second worst movie of 2023. You decide.
What a time. I had a great time with it. I recommend you just got to get past the first half hour. It's fun.
This is, and it's funny to think about the levels of atrocities we've watched over the last couple of months, because like quite clearly Madam Web is way worse than this movie, because in that movie they're so detail specific about the wrong details, and that's what makes that movie so bad. There's no details at all in this movie. That's why this movie is really bad.
I think what separates the two movies is that first off, this one tried to at least have some action in a superhero movie. So credit to them there.
I tried to have fun. Yep.
It's not great action, but they at least tried to have some action. Also, Momoa loves this character and he loves playing this character. Whereas blanking on her name right now. Dakota Johnson did not want to be there.
Yeah, and also because you're dealing with like certain powers and just random shit in the ocean and an island with dinosaurs on it, you could just be like, oh, it's that. And you can explain things away. When it takes place in the heart of New York City post 9/11, you can't explain anything away.
I think about so often when she turns around in the wheelchair and she has those tiny little glasses on. It's like,
it's one of the funniest images ever. It's so good.
Pot chicken. My sister and I always
How'd
say
you
that
know?
to each other. We just kung pot chicken.
Bless you.
That final scene is the best. Is it available yet?
Oh God. They still how did she get paralyzed? They never even explained that.
I'm not even sure why she's blind.
Yeah, the firework underwater should not have blinded her. I agree with you on that. I agree.
Kung pot chicken. Now you're just showing off. Maybe I am.
God, that would be so bad.
40 hot dogs for both movies.
Let's get into
Mac-Sack, and Mac-Sack could be anything it could be about. And Mac, right now, we are in the midst of March Madness. The second round is live right now, and we had a couple of upsets, only three real big upsets. I think we had some 9s over 8s, but that doesn't really count as an upset. Some mostly chalk. I'm trying to find it. I can't find it. All I know is that Catherine Myrtle lost to
Sarah Michelle Gellar. That's right. She lost.
Yes, she lost in hers.
You texted it to me. Let me scroll back
I can't
here.
find my text to you. I'm blanking right now. Oh, here we go. First round upsets, Mac. We had Derek Huff over Jobu Tupaki. That was an 11 over a 7. We had Gollum over Kylo Ren, which we were kind of expecting.
11 over a 6 or a 10 over a 7?
Sorry, 10 over a 7, then an 11 over a 6.
Okay. Oh, the Golem over Kylo. Which,
Yes,
yeah.
and then Cal Hockley over Myrtle was also an 11 over a 6.
Yeah, understandable ones. Does nothing too upsetting.
Oh,
there.
actually, we ended up having an upset too with we had to do a revote because there was a tie with Vulture and Mr. Smith.
Yeah,
And Mr.
Agent
Smith
Smith
ended up winning.
from the
Agent
Matrix,
Smith.
who
Yeah.
gets 3 movies and 2 decades. He's pretty iconic villain, so it's understandable. As
And
much as
also-
we love Vulture, that is understandable.
Maybe a top 5 most memorable fight scene of all time.
Yeah, that courtyard scene in the second movie is fucking incredible.
So, guys, keep on heading over to X. Keep on voting. We have more second round matchups right now. Then we go to the Sweet 16, Elite 8, Final 4, and let's see who is going to be the champion, the best movie villain since the year 1990. Mac, where can the people find us?
You can find us on Twitter and on Instagram at Mac and Goo Podcast, every other platform. We are Mac ampersand Goo. It's Mac Shift 7 Goo. That includes Facebook, Stitcher, TuneIn, Castbox, Spreaker, Google Play, iHeartRadio. We are on Spotify. More importantly, we're on Apple Podcasts. Get on there. Rate, review, subscribe. 5 stars. If you do that, we'll get you a free Mac and Goo t-shirt from the folks over at Watertown Sportswear. That's watertownsportswear.com. Expert screen printing and embroidery.
tpublic.com.
Merch.
Check us out at the end of the week for a news dump. Lots of news is happening right now.
Ooh.
And then I think we have something planned for next week. I don't know.
It was real unfortunate that the Beetlejuice trailer came out like 6 hours after we recorded last week.
Yeah.
What are your initial thoughts on that?
I hope that Keaton has more energy in the movie than the one line he delivered in the trailer.
I think they are purposefully not showing us like any Beetlejuice stuff. Seeing it finally put to screen definitely makes you a little more excited. That's my
It does,
take.
but I was like, I hope he has just a little more oomph when he's on the screen, because that was the whole thing about him in the 20-ish minutes when he's on the screen in the movie. He's all over the place.
Yeah.
And in this, he's just like, the juice is loose.
They also finally confirmed Beetlejuice as the title.
That's right. And someone dies at the beginning of the movie.
I'm assuming
It's the dad, and they're not going to speak about the actor.
yes, because Catherine O'Hara is back in what's his face? What Baldwin was it? Was it a Baldwin?
No, the Baldwin's the ghost. Alec Baldwin's the ghost in the movie.
Who's
the dad was another guy. You can Google him after.
Okay, that's right. That's who I'm thinking of.
He's a
Yeah.
bad guy.
I'm thinking of. Okay, yeah. Okay,
But Alec Baldwin, Gina Davis, not in the trailer. Probably
Gina
not going to be in
Davis,
the movie.
That's it. Yeah, you're right. I feel like why wouldn't Gina Davis do it though?
I'm hoping that they have moved past the great beyond and we can focus on
True.
other ghosts.
True, very true.
Also, I think it might have been Sam Libby that made the point. It might have been someone else, but I'm going to assume Sam Libby that this movie better start with Beetlejuice in the waiting room.
Yeah, that's a good call. Also, what song number do you think is going to be in this movie? Do you think they do Daylight Come, or do you think there's a new song? Because
I think
that's definitely going to be in the movie.
so. They used that in the trailer, slowed down, which I thought was dumb. Well, no, that's like a Jordan Peele thing now.
Yeah, iconic scene though.
It's almost like they have to pick another genre of music,
It's going to be
to
tough
kinda
to
play
replicate. Yeah.
but it needs to be something that's not popular right now.
So you're thinking like what year did that song come out relative to
I don't know, because that
Beetlejuice?
movie came out in 88.
Yeah,
So did that come out in the 50s?
I have no idea.
That
you could have you could have told me 62 or 97 on that and I would have believed you, even though the movie came out in 88.
It came out the day before the movie came out. They just slapped it in there. I don't know. What are we going to get from Tim Burton's Twisted Mind? I'm going to recommend this right now, guys. Go and listen to, I think it's episode 110, where you'll either think it's our best episode or our worst episode. Top 10 Tim Burton movies.
Was that in anticipation of Dumbo?
Yes. It is all over the place. And we randomly throughout the 45-minute episode just yell, Tim Burton.
Tim Burton.
We should probably bring that back.
In retrospect, I'm so mad you made me go watch Dumbo. So mad. That movie fucking blows.
That movie did blow.
Really bad.
It was bad. It was
Today,
real bad.
2024 me would never see that movie.
No, you wouldn't.
I've changed.
I mean, I think we all have, though, where we're not. But that was also at a point where we were all still seeing the live action Disney movies.
Yeah, true. That's true.
And now we're not.
Yeah.
So, Tuesdays or Goose Days, I abuse kangaroos. Tim
Burton.
Please flip the cassette over to side B to continue the adventure.
If Beetlejuice gives us nothing else, we're bringing back
I forgot
Tim
about
Burton.
I was saying it for like 2 weeks after that episode.